Hello, welcome to Partners in Crime. This is Karoline.
And I'm Kailee. And this week we have a special guest, our friend Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm this week's special commentator. Yeah.
And today I'll be doing a story on Michael Malloy. So let's jump into it, shall we? Okay, so the story of Michael Malloy begins in January 1933 in a speakeasy in New York. All that I could find about Malloy is that he was around age 60. He used to be a fireman, but he lost his job. And because of this, he fell into bad alcohol. He was a bad alcoholic.
Okay.
He never paid his bill at this bar. And this is actually what sparked this incident because the owner, who was named Tony Marino, Francis Pasqua, Hershey Green, and Daniel Kreisberg. And so they all decided to take out 3 insurance policies under Malloy's name and then murder him. Because this was also during the time of the Great Depression and also near the end of the Prohibition. So a speakeasy is not the best place to be right now. So they took out 3 insurance policies and it totaled $3,500 in 1933's money. I did the calculations.
Okay.
It's right under $74,000 in today's money. So the idea is that they didn't want to actively murder him. They just wanted to kind of help him find his way to Heaven's Gates. So they first allowed him unlimited credit. He came in and they're like, you can drink as much as you want. And he was like, all right, bet. So he took full advantage of this. He was down 20 shots at this point. They thought he would have been gone,
Yeah.
He did this for 3 days, walked out every night, said, I'll be back in the morning. And so at this point, they're like, okay, we'll move on. Do something else. So they decided to replace the alcohol with antifreeze, thinking, of course he'll die. It's antifreeze. No. He drank multiple shots of that, no effect. They then put turpentine in it, horse liniment, and rat poison, and yet he still drank on. Growing even more restless, the group decided to pour him pure wood alcohol, also known as methanol, and only about 10 milliliters of methanol can cause permanent blindness. 30 milliliters is potentially lethal. 100 milliliters, which is just 2 shots, is usually the typical dose, but this did not faze him. He just kept going. He again left, said, I'll see you in the morning, and he stayed true to his word, and he came back. So again, they tried getting raw oysters, and they soaked them in wood alcohol, because apparently there's a bad reaction in the stomach if you have seafood, like oysters, and then alcohol, or wood alcohol. Nothing. So then they gave him a sandwich with spoiled sardines, and they mixed poison, glass, and carpet tacks in it, fed it to him. He asked for another one.
What?
So then, giving up trying to just poison him, they decided, you know what, we'll freeze him to death. So they offer him to go for a walk in a park with them, and they waited until he had passed out on a bench. They dumped him in the snow, took his clothes off, poured 5 gallons of water on them. This is in January, early winter months in New York. It's freezing. They thought they certainly finished him off, but the next day when Tony went back to the bar, he was there waiting for him. Just sitting there.
How
saying,
is this guy still alive?
He's known as Mike the Durable.
Okay.
So, trying one more time, but at this point they've given up with the peaceful route. They're like, screw it. So
They're determined to kill him.
At this point, they have to, basically. So they took Hershey Green was a taxi driver, so they ran over Michael Malloy with his taxi, backed up over him. They were going 45 miles per hour, is what I read. And they thought he was done, They left him on the street. They didn't see him for 5 days. After the 5 days, he came back, and he was like, he had a broken arm and a headache, and he was like, pour me another one, bud. So, at this point, they're ticked. They've put in a lot of money to this. Actually, so the insurance policy they took out was only going to pay them $3,500. Around this point, they've put in $2,000 of material, like supplying him endless amounts of booze, buying the poison, doing everything to try to kill him. So they're already going into the red. But on February 23rd, 1933, they had enough. So they waited for him to pass out in the bar, and they carried him up to Murphy's room upstairs. They put a hose in his mouth that was connected to a coal gas jet and turned it on. It did take 20 minutes for him to die from this, which I still think is unbelievable. Because, like, I would feel like 5 minutes is the most. Your body is like, I can't function. But no, he
20
minutes. Fighter to the day. So afterwards, he was pronounced dead from lobar pneumonia and was quickly buried. They didn't even embalm him. They were just ready to get the money.
They threw him in the ground.
Yes. They actually paid off a doctor to have this cause of death written on the form. But rumors started going around about Mike the Durable and the plan that they had to kill him. And so eventually the police heard these, and they decided to exhume the body and have it forensically examined. It was during this time, since they didn't exhume him, they were able to find his body was just like filled with CO2 gas. And also he was like cherry red. Like he had all the indicators that this was not pneumonia. So after finding this cause of death inaccurate, the 5 men were convicted for murder in 1934. Hershey Green was sentenced to life in prison, while the other 4 members were sentenced to death. That's how our story ends. This is a picture of him after he died.
Dang. Looks rough.
Can you imagine going through all that?
He... No.
And you know what? He still wanted another drink.
Yeah.
My guy knows he's got his priorities straight.
Another.
Oh man, another old Tone. What's his name? Tony, right?
Tony, can you do it in an Irish accent?
Oh no.
Oh, pull me another, would you?
That was like, I think Scottish.
It was almost, I'm in the area.
You're there.
Pull me, no, that's like Cockney. Pull me another one while just Cockney. I can't do Irish. There's something else.
They always go up with their sentences.
Do they? Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Get
Yeah,
to it.
that's Michael Malloy. What did you think?
I don't know how that's possible that he stayed alive that long.
His liver.
Just the whole thing. Like, how? How did he not freeze to death? How did he not get poisoned?
He said that the chill actually woke him up, and allowed him to get back into his bed. And one of the men who were out there with him, or that was out there with him, got a cold.
Oh my god!
that's
Imagine
karma, yeah.
you getting a cold and then he's just
The guy you're trying to kill, fine.
Give
Like-
me another shot.
Man, I don't know. I feel like if you just continuously drink, like I think your body just like becomes supernatural somehow. I don't.
Oh yeah. Like it adapts, it overcomes, you know?
Anything you throw at it.
Yeah. She can handle it.
Why did he keep going to that bar though? Was there not?
Because they were
another one?
offering him free drinks.
Oh yeah.
At that point. And then also he had an unpaid tab. And I think they were just like letting him and drink. And so like that's how it started. Because they were like, man, we really need money. It's the depression, blah, blah. And they were like, and he never pays his tab. So they were like,
A little revenge. A little payday.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is such a stark difference between hitting him with your car and then also like putting a gas tube into his mouth versus giving him a lot of alcohol.
Why didn't they just shoot him?
Because it had to look like an accident.
It didn't go so well for them.
Yeah, no, that's where the issue came in. Because one of the insurance companies were like, okay, can we see the body? And they were like, no.
No
That already
way.
had that thing buried. So, Kaylee, what's your case?
My case is on Maria Rudolph. It is known as the oldest solved cold case. But that's not necessarily true anymore. Anyway, I'll get to that later. So on December 3rd, 1957, 7-year-old Maria Rudolph went missing on the street corner of Sycamore, Illinois. She was playing with her best friend Kathy outside on the first snowfall of the year, and a man offered to give her a piggyback ride. Kathy went inside to get some gloves, and when she came back, they were gone. The last she saw of them was the man carrying her down the street.
No.
Kathy went to Maria's parents and said that she was missing. Her parents thought she was just hiding, so they sent her older brother to find her, but an hour went by and there was no sign of her. So they decided to call police, and it took 5 months for them to find her remains. They were found 100 miles outside of the city by some tourists, and her body was found wearing a shirt, an undershirt, and socks. She was decomposed, and it was just a skeletal, like, that's all that was there.
So sad.
But her
How old was she?
She was 7.
No.
Yeah.
When was this?
1957.
No.
Yeah. So no technology for
Right.
them to find anything.
No DNA.
But her parents only identified her because of the
When
socks
was
she was
DNA
wearing.
discovered?
When
That
was DNA discovered?
DNA was
Like in
discovered
the
in like
50s.
I thought it was like the 1800s.
Wait, when was...
Watson and actually Rosalind Franklin. She.
No, I thought it was like
1950s by Francis Crick.
What? No. Rosalind Franklin. Put some respect on her name. She's been erased
But it was
from
the-
scientific.
but it
But it
was
was the 50s. I don't know why I thought 1800s.
the
It's like,
1800s. No,
There's no way.
You could
Like, I
stab
was
someone
thinking-
in plain daylight. Get away with it.
I was thinking like 1899. No.
That's like radium. When was radium discovered?
Radium was like
Well,
19.
Rosalind Franklin was born in 1920.
Oh, so you're
So
speaking all
you're saying the
disrespect of her name, and
1800s.
you don't even know her age.
No, but you were saying 1800s. And
No,
you were talking about her.
no. I don't know. I don't know when they were born. I just thought
I mean,
like
I was just... Okay.
So DNA is
Okay,
just on
okay.
the brink.
Yeah.
Just discovered. They don't know how to use it though.
Definitely not
like, what's this?
DNA evidence for a crime. That's not happened. But she was identified only by her socks. Her parents identified her by her socks. And it wasn't until 50 years after that they did an autopsy to finally determine her cause of death 50 years later, which was that she was stabbed in the throat multiple times.
What a terrible way to go.
Yeah. It's sad. As I laugh, but it's... The suspect, John Tesser, he was also known as Johnny. He was 24 at the time, single, blonde, bad teeth, and a high-pitched voice is what the article described him as, so I wanted to
Sounds like a
include that.
catch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just the fact that he offered her a piggyback ride is staying on my mind right now.
Yeah.
That is just, and she said yes.
She was 7. It was the 50s.
Seemed harmless.
Yeah. He was a neighbor of the family as well, so that could also...
So she probably knew him. She didn't suspect anything of it.
He was considered creepy by the community, but he was the only suspect, and he passed a lie detector test, so they just completely closed the case and said that it was fine. He was never put in a lineup to be identified by Kathy, who was the only one that saw the guy.
I bet her parents probably didn't want her to.
What, Kathy?
Yeah.
Yeah, she did a lineup later, though, but I'll get to that in a minute. But in 1994, John's mother, on her deathbed, said that he had killed little girls and that he had killed Maria. But this was it was kind of dismissed because apparently they had a bad relationship and there was a lot of violent behavior from the mom towards Johnny. But the confession was just taken as a spite and that she was dying and that she was just talking. But John's half-sister spent years trying to get them to reopen the case, and in 2008, they finally reopened the case. Police found evidence of him giving piggyback rides to other little girls at the time, and that he had strange behavior around girls that age.
How was there evidence for that?
I don't know. That's what this article said. I couldn't really find much more about that, but... He was also charged with rape in the 80s. He was released, I think, in the 90s.
10 years?
I don't know. It was... I'll look it up in a minute.
Man, 10 years for rape? That's all we're given in this country?
Yeah, because
unfortunately.
it was moved to a misdemeanor, so he got out pretty early.
Glad to see our criminal justice system hasn't
Changed.
been reformed at all.
But he had a strong alibi for that day that she went missing. He was 40 miles from where the abduction occurred because he was enlisting in the Air Force. His whereabouts were confirmed by recruitment officers, but they did find an unused train ticket to Rockford, which was where the recruitment office was and where he was supposed to go. So officers created the timeline that he kidnapped Maria, then drove to Rockford in time to meet with the officers. He didn't take the train anymore. And then later, Kathy picked him out in the lineup, and she said that was him.
But how long ago, or how later did the lineup do?
This is over 50 years later.
Okay.
So
that's not the best.
Yeah.
Wait, how old was Kathy at the time?
I assume she's the same age as Maria, so she was 7 at the time.
Okay.
There's not. The only thing they say about her is her name, and that she identified him later, and that she was the last person to see him.
Yeah.
But the interview with police during this, he was very hostile, and there was holes in his story. But also, it was 50-something years ago. I don't know. But they exhumed Maria's body, found no DNA evidence linking him, and then that's when they found out her actual cause of death because they did an autopsy. But multiple inmates testified saying that he had talked about killing her, like when he was in jail. But their stories did not match up with anything like that actually happened.
Yeah, that doesn't. Prisoner confessions usually don't line up or like lead to anything because they're just trying to get extra time mostly.
But they left out his alibi in the trial, so he was convicted for the abduction and murder of her and was given life at prison at the age of 73.
Well, I'm happy with that.
But
I'm satisfied with that. Well.
And the case was considered solved, so that's why it's called the oldest solved cold case. But in April 2016, his charges were dismissed because there was new evidence that the phone call put him too far away from the crime scene, making it impossible, and he was released in 2017.
I'm sorry, what phone call?
A phone call to the recruitment office. He had talked to the recruitment officers at the time, but they don't really know what time she was kidnapped, so I don't really know how they could just use that, but...
So he didn't even meet these people in person? He just had a phone call
No,
with
he
them?
met them. He called them before he met them,
Okay.
and then he went to meet them.
Yeah, if they don't know the time that she was abducted.
Right, like how do they know she wasn't already dead within that period?
But they let him go, and it is now an unsolved case. It is, but
Solved, unsolved.
Yeah,
Solved, unsolved.
It went from unsolved to a cold case to solved to unsolved. But yeah. But they considered another suspect. His name is William Henry Redmond. But he's dead now, so they can't really do anything about it. But the only evidence they have towards him is that he apparently had the ability to make young girls vanish, is what this article said.
Oh,
and
would do what, my guy?
That any time a younger girl was around him, they would disappear, basically. Get kidnapped, I assume, or die, I don't know. And he also looked like the description that Kathy gave. That's all the evidence that they have.
Was that guy ever in jail?
I think he went to jail for kidnapping someone, but I don't think he was there long.
What is wrong with our legal system?
Illinois is in the 50s. I don't know.
You say Illinois?
Illinois.
It is Illinois.
I'm sorry.
I was going to let it slide.
Yeah.
But you decided no.
No. I mean, you
Illinois.
already said it.
Yeah.
It's in there.
I've always said that. Well, thoughts?
Man, I want to believe that guy did it because obviously I want someone to be guilty for it. But I don't know, that other guy does seem very, very likable, and I don't know why no one ever looked into him.
Yeah, I guess because Kathy said, or they kind of put him as it because he was a neighbor, and then they just immediately...
Where did that guy live? The other guy?
I found nothing on him other than that. And then they had said that he went to jail before, but let me see if I can find that again.
A little more. Ooh.
He was charged with murder of an 8-year-old. Pennsylvania 8-year-old.
And they didn't.
That was in 88 when he was charged, though. But they didn't pick him as a suspect until the second trial is when they came up with him. But in the beginning, it was only Johnny.
I don't know. Johnny does seem like a very good candidate. Especially him being a neighbor, him supposedly offering piggyback rides to other girls, and then just being weird.
Yeah, he was... it also says he was an outsider in the town and that he was creepy and... Yeah. And then his mom said that. but I don't know. He got away with it if he did.
Man, R.I.P. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Partners in Crime.
I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Karoline.
And tune in next week for another episode.
Bye!